What's going on, guys? My name is Tyler, and this is EEDC News Episode 2. Today's going to be most recommended. So there's several different things. Most recommended budget knife, most recommended knife to mod, most recommended tools. I got like 10 different categories, plus or minus, that we're going to go over. But before we get there, let's do a pocket dump. Today, in my fifth pocket, I was carrying the Wee Mini Malice button lock. Now, this is a pretty cool knife. It kind of reminds me of the Civivi Odium more than it reminds me of the Malice. I got this because I am a Malice fanboy. That's probably the longest running knife in my collection up to this point. This does not fill the Malice itch. I can tell you guys that right now. But after carrying it for a day, it's a really good knife. I really enjoy it. Might be one of my favorite button locks short of the Mini Slim Pickens. It's just, I got it because of the Malice. And yes, it's the same exact thing, just shrunken down. But nobody shrinks down the Malice. Nobody puts baby in a corner, right? You can't shrink down the Malice because the fun part about the Malice is how just a little bit too big it is, but just big enough to carry. Next, I was carrying my Spyderco Manix 2. This is in blade steel 52-100. This has the zirconium scales on it and a zirconium pocket clip. These are from Met & Boss, and they are awesome. I will never carry this knife to work again, and this is the first time I carried this to work. I already have like a little scratch down here, and then there's a little scratch in the pocket clip, and I normally don't obsess over those things, but apparently once you get zirconium, you do. So this is going to be one of those knives that kind of goes in my let's go out pocket rather than my work pocket. Although, pretty awesome. So let's get right into it on my most recommended. First is most recommended budget knife. Now the first one's going to bore you. I have a couple of options, but it goes without saying that the Rat Models 1 and 2, I mean, for a budget knife, these are just fantastic. And I don't care if you get the AUS 8 or the D2. D2 is going to hold its edge. AUS 8 is going to be stainless-ish. You know, 10 bucks more, I would say get the D2. For the channel, I just bought the AUS 8 versions, and they work just fine. Next on the list is the QSP Penguin. Now, this is in titanium and 154 cm, but I am recommending the $32 version, and it probably went up with inflation these days, the D2 Micarta, specifically liner lock Penguin. You know, for a budget knife, you really don't get better than this blade shape. This blade shape is so damn functional. And fun fact, those of you that didn't know that you're always worried about slicing into your packages too deep and you're cutting the guts of the package, hold your knife like this, and that tip will only go as far as your finger allows it, and therefore you can make a very shallow cut with still getting power behind it and controlling. Pretty cool idea. But the QSP Penguin, fantastic. Last on the list, I unfortunately just gave away as a graduation present. No, I didn't just give this, it's my nephew. Is the Feldspar, specifically the button lock Feldspar. In my opinion, out of all the budget knives that are under $75 to $100, I truly believe that button lock Feldspar is one of the best, if not the best. Had the best action out of all the Civivis and Kaisers I've ever felt. The design is so neutral and so good. It's a great knife. Even the base version's a great knife, but with the button lock kind of adds that bit of fidgetiness and fun that you really don't get out of many others. So I'm recommending the button lock Feldspar, and I believe it's a White Mountain Knives exclusive. Don't forget to use my promo code EEDC when you get there and you get 10% off. I told you guys I would talk about sharpening supplies, and I'm only going to speak to freehand sharpening because that's all I know. But my most recommended, especially for starting out, is DMT diamond stones. Now these are double-sided diamond stones. This is my fine and ultra fine, and I'll show you the difference if the camera will pick it up. This is my extra coarse and coarse. Now these stones are a little small, and they're kind of cool because they're heavy as hell. So you're holding them and you're like, damn, that's cool. It shows on the side. Here, let's get this going. It shows on the side what they are. Extra coarse, fine, coarse, medium, that type of thing. And these are just fantastic. Now get yourself a little adjustable stone holder, and you will, these are all the stones you need. I don't recommend, unless you're just learning and you have a very simple steel knife like the carbon knives or like the 14Cs, maybe the AUS 8s, the AUS 10s. I don't recommend any other stone, and I have experienced pretty much every type. I'm not going to say every brand, but every type. I started out with water stones because that's all I thought, or wet stones, because that's all I thought existed. And wet stones are probably on my third from top, maybe fourth from top as far as like if I'm going to recommend them. But the problem is they're so messy. There's so much work to set up. You almost talk yourself out of doing it before you get there. So,
all right, I forgot to add the most important point. The reason I chose diamond stones over everything is that they're the only ones that can handle from basic steels to super complex steels with different types of carbides and whatnot. Ceramic stones do a fairly decent job as well, but everything else kind of sharpens around the carbide and ends up giving you a carbide tear out.
so that's why I'm not recommending any water stones. Now, the second stone that I would recommend is the Spyderco Duo. This is both ceramic fine and ceramic medium. They call it coarse or medium, whatever. They don't have an extra coarse. So I don't recommend just getting a ceramic stone because they're kind of a pain in the ass. They require a lot more pressure than diamond stones, but I've gotten my best edges off of ceramic stones without a strop. They're phenomenal. And this pocket stone, coupled with those DMT stones, you could finish up on the DMT and then just kind of remove your burr from this. Well, remove the burr from your knife with this and put it back. It even has leather on the outside. It might be faux leather. I've kind of stropped on this before if I had to straighten out an edge. Not sure if it actually worked because I don't remember that it actually did. But this is a pretty cool little set. This isn't expensive. I don't remember how much this is. This may be like 35 bucks. This set of DMT stones, no, they don't come like this. This is how I have them. This set of DMT stones, that's about $70, $75. I think you can find it on Amazon. It's called DMT Diamond Stones, and they're duo-sided. Get the duo-sided ones. It's way cheaper, and it just works out better in my opinion. Now, there's better stones, but those are my most recommended. Everything on this list kind of has money in thought. Like when I put thought into this, I thought about the financial costs of these things too, which is why I'm recommending them. They're kind of like the best bang for the budget type of thing. Back to some knives. Let's talk about fifth pocket knives. Now, we all like to carry knives, and sometimes we like to carry two knives. Well, I never carry two of the same size. I'm not going to carry a Mannix 2 and a Malice, right? I'm not going to do that. It takes up too much of your pocket. The other side, my left side, is for my flashlights, my pens, and all that stuff. So your fifth pocket, my first recommendation, and I believe this is the Kershaw Launch 10. This is, we'll call it the Launch 10. It very well may be the Launch 11. I don't specifically remember. This looks ugly to you guys. It looks small. It looks useless. This hawkbill shape on this size of a knife, perspectively, here's the Rat Model 1. That is how much larger this is. Now, for the size of knife, this hawkbill shape is so absolutely perfect. You get so much control with this. The automatic feature kind of makes it cool, but this is so discreet. It's aluminum, 154 cm again, so it's going to be a pretty damn good blade steel. The action's snappy, and again, this recurve on here really lets you get into those cuts despite having a small knife. Next, and probably my most recommended, but really doesn't take price into consideration, is my Spyderco Techno 2. Now, you do have to change out that pocket clip because the wire pocket clip specifically on the Techno 2 sucks. It's garbage. Something like the Little Native, the wire clip works great. I have one, and it should really be on this list, but it's not. It's just this model. So I changed it out with Rip's Garage Tech pocket clip. Fantastic. It's green because it matches the backspacers. Backspacers in Techno 2 come standard green. Anyways, Techno 2 is this little frame locked, which has fantastic action, has a little worn cliff. We'll call it a sheep's foot style blade. And once again, you see my finger go into the tip because that's what I normally do with this. These are for controlled cuts and, even making long cuts with this. Yes, I'm not having a full finger grip on this, but this is relatively comfortable. My pinky can kind of touch, makes me feel okay. Look, right there. It feels so premium. This is one of those knives that when you get it in hand, you're like, this is really good. It's made in Taichung, Taiwan, so that's known to be their highest quality production line. And everything about this is awesome. This blade shape, fantastic. The blade finish, it's got like this satin, but satin over maybe a stone wash, but it's not really like, it's like satin up here, but stone wash right here. Maybe it's because my blade's a little dirty. And it's XHP, which is basically a corrosion-proof D2, making it a fantastic choice. Love this guy. Last and most budget-friendly would be the Leatherman Free T2. I had to look because I always forget all of that. Now, this one's cool. It has this really cool locking mechanism that when you slide this way, it closes. And I did notice recently, and it made me like this even more, that I can actually thumb flip this open. And there's no back and forth in this, so it's actually kind of a really good construction. At first, I was kind of pinching it open, and I was like, it's okay. The only knife that I have a lanyard on, by the way, because it doesn't have a pocket clip. I'm sure I could get one, but it goes in my 5th pocket. So this blade shape is super sweet. It's actually, you know, it's like a drop point with like a Tonto sheep's foot, a drop teep's foot, and I really enjoy it. Now, with this one, you're not only getting a blade, you're getting an awl, which also doubles as a small flathead. You're getting a Phillips, and then you're getting a much larger flathead right here. Now, there's not much to it. It does, I think, have a bottle opener on the Phillips. I don't really use these tools, but it's nice to know that you have them. But all in all, this is a pretty cool choice for a 5th pocket as well. Next, let's talk about pens. As EDC guys, you inevitably will check out pens. Whether or not you're like freak out over them or whatever, that's a totally separate story. But we are always looking for something else to scratch that EDC itch. And sometimes you're like, I don't need another knife. Maybe I'll get a pry bar. Maybe I'll get, well, pens on that list. This happens to be the O Pen Pro from Olight. Yes, you guys are going to be like, oh God, an Olight item. I don't care. This thing's actually really good when it comes to, it feels pretty decent in hand. It does have a flashlight. How do I turn this on? It does have a flashlight with 2 settings. I think, yep, you can hold it in, it gets brighter. Oh, 3 settings, 4 settings. Yeah, it has 4 settings. I just learned that. Pretty cool. And it also has a laser pointer. Let's do this. See? Don't want to shine you guys with the laser. Will hit me up. And the laser pointer has less function for me, but I have done a lot of presentations and I could see this coming in handy. But it's more like we all kind of just enjoy lasers. This is coming in, I think, around 70 to 80 bucks. I didn't talk about this either. This was coming in at around 50 to 60 bucks for this free T2. They do have another model that they basically remove this backspacer right here, and there's other tools on the other side. I don't need all that. Actually, the T2 for me is all I need. The next category is one that I kind of threw in here for fun, but it's a knife that you need to experience, but you don't necessarily need to own. At least most of us don't. And that would be my Artisan Cutlery Proponent. Not Puponent, it's actually called Proponent. This is like a $75 knife. I want to say it comes in D2, and this is just a massive chunker. It's not entirely long. I mean, it's longer than the Rat 1, but not by much. But it's so freaking fat. Look at that. And it's just, this is almost like, this has to be 1/4 inch, almost, blade steel, or blade stock. Action on it is silly, mainly because the blade's so heavy. Ergonomically, it's actually really comfortable. And when you go to cut, this thing just shreds. And there's something about having this fine tip that actually wants to stay in the cut for longer. This is just one of those niche style knives that you really need to check out. It's, buy it and then flip it, you know, sell it. But it's fun. It's just a really fun knife. And the Kaiser XL Sheepdog kind of falls into that category, which I actually just sold. And I chose to keep the Proponent. So, next category, flashlights. Now, once again, keep in mind I'm talking price per what you're getting, right? And so for that, I'm actually just going to recommend the Olight 3T EOS, I think it is. This is the titanium model. I got this in a trade. It has 2 settings. It's all you really need. It fits into your pocket perfectly, about the size of a pen. Does have a pocket clip. I think it takes AAA batteries. Yep, AAA batteries. And you don't have to worry about finding a special battery or recharging it every so often. It's just really cool. And if you lose it, because it's so small, it doesn't pain you as much because it was like 25 to 40 bucks. The titanium version might be 55. But one flashlight that I've been carrying as of recent, mainly because it's relatively new to me, is this Ace Beam. I have to read it, the Rider RX. Now, I saw this on Metal Complex's channel with the Going Gear box and all that, and I thought it was a really cool look. I did not get the titanium version, I don't think. I don't even know. This was $40. Really, really cool. Now, it's unique because this pocket clip flips over to the side, and then you can push the bezel up, which actually causes this. That's where you put your frickin' battery. And it does come with a rechargeable. It looks like a AA, but I'm not sure if it's quite AA range. I'm not a flashlight guru myself, but I do always carry one. And this is pretty cool. Frustrations on this guy is that I always forget to lock it over to the side. I don't know why. Or I push it over in my pocket or something. I'm not paying attention. And so when you do that and you go to turn it on, the button actually presses in and this pops out. So the mechanism itself is cool, but in most use, you're like, that's kind of annoying. The actual lights are, you have like this moonlight, you have a low dim light, you have a relatively bright light, and then you have a freaking super bright light. And there's no way to switch between the settings. It's just turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, and you'll get what you need. For $40, this is actually a really good choice as well. Next on the list is my most recommended knife to mod. Now, I'm not talking mod yourself, although you can. I'm talking about basically building it up from scratch. So you buy a knife, and then when you can save up enough money, you buy some scales or a pocket clip or whatnot, and then you make it your own. And that would be the Manix 2. Now, I think the Para 2 and Para 3 might have a little bit more options, but the only thing you're going to change out is the scales. Maybe a backspacer. Maybe a pocket clip. Well, with these, not only can you switch to the skinny scales from Mock-Scale Design, which are pretty awesome, but you can actually swap out this, which is the ball bearing lock and the cage that goes on right here. This cage is titanium. This one is just the regular plastic. I haven't upgraded it yet, but that's pretty cool. You can change out the ball in here to ceramic. I think that's cool. You can adjust the lock bar tension to kind of get the snappiness that you like. You can change out the scales, the screws, just like everything else. You can change out the pocket clip. I think this is my favorite knife to mod. These, I have two. Rex 45, 52-100. I had the original in S30V, and that was my first modded knife. I acid etched it. I kind of did all this wild stuff. It didn't turn out too well, but it was my first one. So the Manix 2 is my favorite knife to mod. I think these are awesome, and there's so many options. Next, my most recommended EDC toolkit. Now, this toolkit isn't to carry with you necessarily. It's to work on your EDC items, your knives, your flashlights, mainly your knives. And that is the Wera Compact Craft or Craft Form Compact. This is a little set that I want to say I got off of Lynch, or maybe I got it off of Urban EDC, and they sell out pretty quick when they come up. But what's cool about it is it has a couple Phillips right here, probably too many Phillips. I mean, eventually I'll probably change that out with a flathead and maybe a T10 because unfortunately this only goes up to, that's not what it goes up to, that's a T8. I want to say it only goes up to a T9. Yeah, swapped out the T8 and T9. It only goes up to a T9. Spyderco's Pivot is actually a T10, most of them anyways. But this does have a T7, T6, and T5. Not sure why 7 and 5 are included in there, because we never see them. Same thing with 9. You see it a little bit more, but not much. And then, like I said, you got the Phillips in there. But what makes this cool is it's really compact. It all stays together. And then you can pop this out. And this little driver is actually pretty nice. So you get out one. It's magnetic, but not only is it magnetic, see, magnetic. It locks into place, and I can't pull it out. So it goes up, locks into place, and then you pull it out. It's relatively comfortable in hand, and it's just compact and easy to carry. So I don't have to go digging for all my bits. I don't have to go digging for a driver when I just want to get something done. After this, I think I'm going to actually make a smock video where I do skiffs versus regular bearings, and I'm going to use this to take it apart. Freaking love this. This is Wera, not Weha. Wera and Weha are very, very similar. I argue that Wera's quality is a little bit better than Weha, but they're both fantastic for tools. And I know electricians that specifically use Wera bits because they don't wear out, they don't chip. They're strong as hell. So Weha's the same way. They're very, very high quality. This is the compact craft form or craft form compact Weha Wera toolkit. Love this thing. Last, let's round this whole thing off with my most recommended EDC. Now, this isn't a specific EDC. This isn't, hey, this is the most recommended for slicing apples. This is the most recommended for throwing at your wall. This is the most recommended for prying open a car door. No, it's not specific. It's like, I'm going to carry this every day. I kind of need a jack of all trades, master of none type of knife. So, honorable mention, and this doesn't quite make the list because it's a little large for what I consider best EDC. That is the Gale Bradley 2. This knife is just so good. This nice hollow grind here gives you a pretty slicey edge. The ergonomics on this are so neutral. It doesn't look like a crazy looking Spyderco, you know, comparatively. It doesn't have like this crazy look. It looks more normal. Still has the hole, still has the like, you know, looks like a pelican or whatever. But it looks, in my opinion, really good. You can get scales. You could change out the pocket clip for it. But it's just a generic liner lock on, not generic, but on phosphor bronze. Fantastic. If you're looking for something just, this is, in my opinion, really, really good. These are just the most useful blades and easiest to carry, that type of thing. Number 3 on the list would be the 80-20.5 Aus 10, I guess. I would recommend the Shark's Foot over the clip point. Just saying, I have the clip point, I don't have the Shark's Foot, but I can tell you, I would definitely recommend the Shark's Foot as an EDC blade over the clip point. You really don't need a tip in most EDC scenarios. I have never needed a knife to puncture something with, other than when you're shotgunning a beer. And yeah, it's self-defense, but I'm not referring to an EDC as a self-defense item. I don't even know that if I was getting my butt kicked that I would think to grab my knife, right? It's a tool to me. And the 80-20.5 is a very slim, relatively thin blade stock, gives you a little bit of fidget factor to it. And once you change out those Gryvery scales, I got the aluminum, the original goat scales on here. It's so solid, guys. Ergonomically feels really, really good. Maybe the best ergonomics of the 3. And just a really good knife. That's number 3. My number 2, and you guys are going to go, the Benchmade bug out. I don't care what you guys say. You're just bored of it. What happens is they stuff this down your throat so much that you want to resist. And that's what the Benchmade bug out is. They stuffed it down your throat. Everybody got one, talked about how good it was, and then you got tired of it, right? There's a reason they talk about how good it is. There's a reason they talk about the PM2, you know? That's why. There's a reason they talk about Civivi's quality versus their price, you know, although it's getting up there. It's those types of things. They exist for a reason. They're popular for a reason, and this is no exception. What's really cool about this is I did mention this in knives that you can do a lot of mods to. This has happened to be wearing the Flytanium scales. I want to say this is a Flytanium backspacer. This might be the original Quip. I don't remember. But what's really cool about the bug out is, yes, you get the fidget factor, right? That's nice. The blade itself is very darn thin, so you're going to get great slicing out of this. It's manageable in its size. It's maybe, what, like 3.3 inches? You can control the tip, and it's super thin, guys. Look at that. This is a thin knife that's going to go in and out of your pocket super easy. The whole purpose of the bug out was to not really feel that you had a knife in your pocket, and that's what makes it a cool tool, because it is so damn functional. I can't not include it on this list. There's a reason that this is probably my second running as far as longest knife that I've had. Love it. The last one was so good out of the box that I made a series about it, and the series kind of fell through. I ended up giving the knife away to a guy that I felt like needed it, and so it kind of shut down the series. And that is the Wii Esprit. Now, this is the one with the carbon fiber. I had the titanium version. The titanium version feels a little bit more premium, in my opinion, because it does have orange peel texturing. While this doesn't really have any texturing, it does have carbon fiber, and this is lighter, kind of making this a better choice for your EDC than the titanium version. The action on this is just outstanding. You can do that little over-the-top flick. You can thumb flick it. It does have thumb studs, so you can reverse flick it off of the stud. You can do that. And can I get it off of the blade? Not with the gloves, but I think I can do it without the gloves. This is very, very thin. I keep failing it. It is a typical drop point shape, okay? And now if you'll notice, the bug out is kind of that too, but it doesn't have as much belly as this. So this is going to give you a little bit more tasks to where you can really get in there and kind of go low, kind of like a food prep style situation. It is a frame lock, which while the axis locks and the shark locks are arguably stronger, they are more fun, the frame lock is just kind of basic. There's something so simple about it, and it's so fitting that I say that unintentionally because this is a Ray Laconico design, and I can't recommend, if you just like simple yet classy, elegant look, that's kind of Ray Laconico in a nutshell. But this knife, I can't tell you why I put this over those other two, because honestly, if I were to compare them, it would probably lose out when it comes to maybe sliceability versus the bug out. Maybe, you know, with the 80 20.5 with that shark's foot, it's a better EDC blade. But something about this with the contoured scales, you get that feeling of that knife enthusiast. You get that enthusiast feeling out of this. While the bug out doesn't clip any of those enthusiast feels, the 80 20.5 really doesn't either. But this, once you get it in hand, you're like, oh, that feels good, right? Oh man, this definitely feels better than the bug out in hand. Maybe not better than the 80 20.5, but the contouring does kind of give it that. It's just all around a really good knife. That's all I got for you guys today. My name is Tyler. This has been Everyday EDC News. Unfortunately, it was less of news, more of a list, which was still kind of fun for me to do. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching. You guys stay sharp, stay safe, and have a great freaking rest of your day. Thanks so much for watching, guys.